If I get hit by a bus, my wife and my kids, they don't have anything. They can't take the business over. Here's the crazy thing about that. It's literally harder to get approved for Chick-fil-A than it is to get into Harvard or Stanford. All right, check this out. I was able to pull up some of Chick-fil-A's financial records, and I learned that their drive-through locations do an average of over $9 million in sales. And their highest performing location did a whopping $19 million in sales in 2024. So if Chick-fil-A is making millions and all over the place, people can see that it's only $10,000 to own a Chick-fil-A, then what's the catch? Why wouldn't everyone be banging down the door to open a Chick-fil-A? Well, it turns out they are. So in this video, we're gonna talk about why owning a Chick-fil-A probably actually isn't even a good idea, even though you can get in for $10,000 and the average location does about $9 million in sales. So we'll talk about a couple of things about, number one, how hard it is to get a Chick-fil-A, how the ownership structure actually works, and if it's something that might actually even be good for you. If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I've owned multiple franchises in multiple states, and I used it to get myself free into becoming a full-time entrepreneur. I'm now the CEO and founder of a company called Franchise Empire, where we help individuals find, vet, and launch money-making franchises. All right, so yes, the average Chick-fil-A in 2024, the average drive-through location averaged about $9 million in sales. So what's the actual catch? Because Chick-fil-A makes more money on average than any other QSR. QSR stands for quick service restaurant. Think McDonald's, Chipotle, Taco Bell, KFC. Literally, there is no one out there that averages as much money as Chick-fil-A per location. But here's the catch. Whereas if you went out and bought a McDonald's, you own the McDonald's. You own that business. You could one day turn around and sell the McDonald's. If you passed away, you could give it to your kids, you could give it to your family. It does not work that way with a Chick-fil-A. You don't actually own the business. All you own is the right to operate the business. You are what's called an operator. I remember a couple of years ago, I actually got a call from a guy who was a Chick-fil-A operator, and this is one of the reasons why he was actually looking to get out of it and to get into another franchise, because he said, hey, although I'm making a couple $100,000 a year in take home, number one, I can't go out there and start any other businesses. Number two, his biggest concern was like, if I get hit by a bus, my wife and my kids, they don't have anything. They can't take the business over, because the reality is that the corporate location owns the land and they own the building and they own everything. And this is why it's only $10,000 to get open, because you're not actually paying for any of the build out. So it's really not that bad if you're just looking for something where you just want to be there, operate it, and essentially buy yourself a job that you one day cannot ever sell. But you want to make a couple $100,000, well, then, I don't know, maybe a Chick-fil-A could be the option for you. But if you're looking for something to build that you can one day exit and sell and build a legacy for your family, Chick-fil-A is not it. So look, if you don't actually own anything with the Chick-fil-A, what are some examples of franchises where you do own something and it's not going to cost you $1 million to get open? It's a really great question. That's why I put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million. The numbers are verified by proven data, and I put together a description and a breakdown of each of those businesses, their startup costs, and the amount of sales that franchise owners are making. If you want to grab it for free, you can click the link in the description below. It is my gift to you for watching and supporting the channel. Now you may go, okay, well, Tarek, I will, you know what, I can accept all of that I don't actually own anything. I've heard that some Chick-fil-A owners are making $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and so I want in. Well, yeah, you and 20,000 other people. So Chick-fil-A gets over 20,000 applications for franchise owners, operators, a year, and they accept less than, can you guess, 0.5%. Here's the crazy thing about that. It's literally harder to get approved for Chick-fil-A than it is to get into Harvard or Stanford. And the process is intense and it spans over a couple of years. It includes essays, multiple interviews, and actually having to go work in stores for a period of time until a new opportunity for a location becomes available. And oftentimes you'll need to move. If they say, hey, you live in Florida, but an opportunity is coming available in Kentucky, well, you got to go take that opportunity in Kentucky. And unlike most franchises, Chick-fil-A does not allow what's called semi-absentee or absentee owners. You are the operator. Your whole job is to operate the business. And yes, if you've ever been to Chick-fil-A, they have a ton of workers in there, and you can often have different layers of management, but at the end of the day, it's still your responsibility to run and operate your location. And look, I can't really blame them for this. I think the most successful businesses, they have hands-on operators. They have hands-on owners that are really active in the day-to-day of the business. Now, as that business starts maturing and gets older and becomes more stabilized, and you get a team that you can trust and rely on and that's properly trained, well, at some point you don't have to be there as often. But in the beginning, you've got to be there a lot. And it goes to show why Chick-fil-A are arguably the best run food businesses out there, because you have really hands-on owners, operators, that have a vested stake in the profits and the performance of the locations. And they're not allowed to just ghost and just leave and start a bunch of other businesses and be like, okay, cool, you guys go ahead and run the business for me. I'll pop in maybe, once or twice a year. The other point is that generally you cannot have another business without Chick-fil-A approving it. So this is actually one of the reasons why I left the corporate world and wanted to leave the corporate world a long time ago. I was a financial advisor. I had all sorts of investment licenses. And because of those investment licenses and the regulations, my company would limit me on the side hustles or businesses that I was allowed to start. And if I wanted to start anything, I had to literally file something called an OBA, an outside business activity, around the business that I wanted to start. And I would have to meet with our head of compliance to answer a bunch of questions. I literally remember when my wife and I were going to sign our first franchise agreement for our juice and smoothie franchise, I had to fill out this form. I had to do a call with our head of compliance, and I had to validate and confirm that I would not solicit any of my clients to help invest in the franchise. And so if your goal is to open and operate multiple businesses and diversify your income, then Chick-fil-A is definitely not the brand for you. The other point is that most Chick-fil-A owners are not able to own multiple units. Very rarely, and in few instances, will Chick-fil-A allow their top operators to own multiple locations. Whereas McDonald's or some of these other large food franchise concepts, or just service-based franchises, you can own 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 locations or more. I actually have a friend who he's owned over 30 Dunkin' Donuts. I have another buddy of mine, he owns 11 territories of budget blinds. And that's just something that you're not gonna be able to do. You're not gonna hear about someone owning 5 or 10 or 15 Chick-fil-A's. And why would you if you can't sell them anyways? But at the end of the day, if what you're seeking is income and not ownership, then maybe Chick-fil-A could be the opportunity for you. But I would be prepared for a long, hard road of really having to prove yourself and ace all these different interviews and actually work in the stores really without a guarantee that you're ever going to have the opportunity to be an operator at a location. I actually have a friend of mine who went through almost the entire process with Chick-fil-A, but it took so long that his goals and his life changed. And so by the time he was getting ready to get offered a location, he decided he didn't want to do it anymore. So look, now you know all of the pros and cons to owning a Chick-fil-A or not owning a Chick-fil-A, and the catch of why it's only $10,000 to become an operator of Chick-fil-A. So now you might be wondering, well, franchising sounds pretty interesting. What are some of the popular franchise opportunities that make a lot of money? I want to make a lot of money. Well, I'm glad you asked, because in this video, I break down 7 specific franchises that make a load of money. I think you'll find them interesting, and I'll see you on that video.